we are here with Tessa Lau, who is the CTO, Lauren Schechtman, who is the VP of Marketing, and Mia Shanholtzer, who is the Senior Mechanical Engineer at a company called Savioke. And they create robots for hotels and hospitals. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up? How did you get into robotics?
Sure. All right, I'll start. So I've probably been a nerd as long as I remember. And I want to tell you that nerds can create cool stuff like robots. So we are cool. Yes? Question?
It's just that everyone thinks they're supposed to be like either this big sports star or supermodel, but the thing is, Steph Curry doesn't change the world.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Nerds change the world because we build cool stuff. So a little bit about me. So I've been interested in computers ever since I remember. I started out programming computers when I was a little kid, and I've done it ever since. So I wrote most of the software behind Relay. I built this face that you see on the screen, and I tell him how he does deliveries inside of hotels. So I started Savioke along with a bunch of other people who are all interested in robotics with us. And what I realized is that it takes a whole team of people to build a robot, not just one person. So I can't build this by myself, but if I work along together with many other people who are all interested in doing the same thing that I am, then together we can create something really cool. Let's go to the next slide.
This is a day in the life.
So I just wanted to tell you what it's like in my job right now. I think I have one of the coolest jobs in the world because I get to babysit a fleet of robots. So we have about 50 of these robots out in the world right now. And every day when I wake up, I check and make sure nothing caught on fire. And then they don't actually catch on fire, but they break, and sometimes they're not working. And so in a hotel, someone might be waiting for their coffee and Relay's not delivering it. That's my job to figure out why not, what's going wrong. After that, I'm working with my team to figure out how do we install these robots into hotels, have lunch with the rest of the people at Savioke. Maybe in the afternoon, I'll be digging into some of those failures to figure out why didn't Relay deliver? What's going wrong with him? Maybe there's something wrong with the software. Maybe there's something wrong with the hardware. Maybe the sensors are not working. And so that's one of the things that I'm doing. And then later on in the afternoon, I'll be figuring out how do we monitor hundreds of robots. Once we get to thousands of robots, I'm not going to be looking at each one individually. And so how can I create dashboards and monitoring tools to let me look at all of them all at once and ask them how are they doing? Are they healthy or are they sick? In the evening, I'm studying German because I want to learn how to speak German, have dinner, and then I read up a little bit more about some of the stuff that I'm learning. So, I don't know if you guys introduce yourselves.
Sure. All right, so my name is Mia, and I'm a senior mechanical engineer at Savioke. And I grew up here in California, actually out on a ranch, which is in the bottom left corner there. So grew up with a lot of different animals and kind of being inventive on different things that happen on a ranch when things break, to come up with new ideas and ways to work around it. And I went to college at UC Berkeley where I studied biomedical engineering. But really in practice, as my career, I've been working as a mechanical engineer. And so a good portion of that taught myself, learned from others, and learned in the working world. And so my previous work, I've worked on lots of different types of products. They've been medical devices, consumer products, and just general mechatronic, like automated systems that combine some electronics, some mechanical engineering. But really my overall sort of trajectory has been to work on products that I think are going to be impactful. And so that's why I ended up joining Savioke, is because this is a robot in the world that's actually got a very specific purpose. It's also fulfilling a significant role, and it's making people very, very happy along the way. And so for me, it was more important to be working on something that's in the real world, that people interact with on a day-to-day basis, versus just working on something that's going to sit in a lab somewhere. And so my life as a mechanical engineer in general involves a lot of time designing and prototyping ideas. So underneath the robot, there are parts that I work on that you won't necessarily see, and then all of the outside parts as well. And so a lot of that's designed in a 3D software that allows you to kind of ideate on a design, come up with something, and then with 3D printing technologies and other manufacturing techniques, you get to prototype that, build it up, test it, run calculations, and figure out if anything's going wrong. And then, of course, part of my job is to help with manufacturing and supporting field operations if there are any mechanical issues or things that come up for the rest of the company. And I didn't talk about this before, but overall, I think in my free time, I love traveling a lot and seeing different parts of the world. And I think it always gives me great perspective and new energy. So when I come back into the office, I'm ready to go with new approaches to problems.
Do you have a favorite place that you visited?
Yeah, so I think I love visiting Seoul, South Korea, and Tokyo, Japan. I've been there multiple times. And for me, both of them are this awesome mix of history, but also a lot of new technology. People are very quick to adapt to new things, and so it's always really great to see how efficient things are, and especially in the robotic space, people are very quick to sort of pick up on new ideas and want to develop them themselves.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm on the business side of Savioke in marketing, and I grew up in the desert, and I live in Half Moon Bay now, and I love the ocean, and I love being active. My hobbies are my daughter over there. She's an engineering student in San Diego. I have a puppy who really likes the mud, and so I love to run and hike and just hang out outdoors. I'm also working with a colleague of mine on a book that's coming out later this week, a book in a nonprofit that inspires girls, women, young women that are entering the workforce and helps them excel. And I could talk to you just a little bit about the marketing side. So the marketing is sort of the bridge between the product and the customer. So you can have the greatest product in the world, but unless it reaches the customer, it's not going to be successful. I mean, you could have the cure for cancer, but unless a cancer patient or a cancer doctor knows about it, it's not going to work. So my job is to make sure that the audience knows about Relay and everything that he can do. So in marketing, I look at it as 4 different kind of segments that I work on every day. And the first one is knowing the customer, not just knowing who they are. Like in our case, it's people in hotels that make buying decisions that solve problems in the hotel. But it's knowing everything about it. So like Mia and Tessa, they know the robot inside and out. But my most important job is to know our customer, what their needs are, what they want, who they are, how they talk, what matters to them. And that goes on to the second quadrant, which is knowing their language. Not whether they speak Spanish or whether they speak French, but what makes them excited about something. So if I go and say, look at our robot, it's so innovative, it's got amazing sensors and navigation systems, I think someone in a hotel would be like, so? But if I say, look at our robot, it will make your customers and your guests so happy and so excited, and it will help them so much. They'll go and tell all their friends, and they'll come back to your hotel again and again and again, and you'll be so successful. Then those hotel people are going to say, I need it, I want it, I can't live without it. The other thing, so that's the recipe, so that's the language that I have to speak. What's going to get them excited? Then I have to think about how I'm going to reach them. And so a lot of people think marketing is, well, advertising, of course. But some people are not, they don't get, they don't trust advertising. They think, oh, you pay for that, I don't know if it's true. And in our case, in hotels, what we find out is that these people that make these decisions, they don't really go by advertising to tell them about a new product. They listen to their friends, they listen to colleagues, they read things, they go to events. So that's why for us, we do a lot of that. We try to interest editors of hotel magazines to do stories on us, on robots. I take Tessa and throw her out there in conferences. She speaks to a lot of hotel industry people about the future of technology and hospitality. So we try to reach out with calls here and over there. Wave your hand. He's on our sales team, and he goes out and he talks to a lot of people in hotels and comes back and says, this works and this doesn't work. So with a recipe, you know, we add a little social media, we add a little, you know, conferences, and then we see what works. And the last part is examine what works, you know, track it, see how good it is, change it. So whatever we do, we are constantly looking to see what works and make it better and better and better. So that's what marketing is.
And can you just introduce us to the robot?
Sure. So this is Relay. Right now I'm driving him with the joystick, but normally he knows how to drive himself. And the way he does that is he has a bunch of sensors on board. He also has a bin. So, you know, his goal is to deliver stuff to you in a hotel. So if you're staying in a hotel and you want a sandwich or you want a can of Coke or maybe you forgot your toothbrush, then the front desk staff can send Relay up to your room and bring you that item. So the way they do that is they interact with Relay on his touchscreen. They punch in your room number and it opens the lid, and then you can put the item inside. And then once you tell him where to go, he'll actually go off on his own and actually drive up to your hotel room, taking the elevators and letting you know when he's there by calling your phone. Questions?
How does Relay use elevators?
How does he use elevators? Well, he doesn't have an arm, so he can't push the buttons, right? So what we did was we gave him robot telepathy, which is Wi-Fi, and he talks over Wi-Fi to the elevator system. We actually put we instrumented the elevator system to listen for signals from Relay, and he tells it, I'm on floor 1 and I want to go to floor 2, and it pushes the button for him.
So actually, we will just hold on to any questions you have, and we'll take them at the very end. You call yourself the Chief Robot Whisperer. Tessa, what is that?
So has everyone heard of a dog whisperer or a horse whisperer? You guys know what that is? So it's someone who whispers to animals if they're not behaving right, and it calms them down and then they start to behave correctly. So when we started Savioke, one of the challenges we had was making a robot work. We were starting from nothing, and I was trying to work with my team to make a robot that actually drove around and did stuff. And when something goes wrong, I was the one who knew how to dig into the problems and figure out how to make the robots work. So that's why I call myself the Robot Whisperer.
And how did all of you fall in love with robotics?
Sure, so I can go. So I think for me it was seeing more and more of the space of how much more affordable and small electronics have gotten. And so more and more you see products that are being released to the market, whether it's a consumer product or something for the medical industry, that's all just becoming more and more complex. You have software working with hardware. And so for me, I always love a challenge, and I love thinking about things from the system level down and being able to think about developing something cohesively. So robotics for me was a next level of a challenge. Once you finish school, you'll find that if you're really ambitious, you want to continue to learn new things and push yourself. And so for me, I knew that robotics was where I wanted to take my career.
I actually, my background is, I spent most of my career in the video game industry, and that is developing products that are for fun for people. And when I've always been interested in robotics because I've seen a lot of robotics and what they can do to help people. And so, that got me really interested in going from, innovation, just for pure entertainment to innovation that is really, really helpful. And so making that transition was super easy for me and really exciting.
Yeah, for me it's some of both. It's learning new things and being part of something that actually matters.
Yeah.
So when I did most of my career in software, just building enterprise software, which is kind of boring. And then I found out that there are some people who are actually creating robots that help people. I got involved in robotics at Willow Garage because they had a project where they're helping a quadriplegic, which is someone who can't move his arms or legs. He's stuck in a wheelchair, and he couldn't scratch his own nose. but people were using robots to actually, he was being able to program robots to scratch himself or to bring himself a yogurt from the kitchen. And that was really amazing. I thought, wow, software can't do that, robots can. And so that's why I got into robots.
And what part of Relay do you enjoy working on most? And just what's the guest's reaction when they see Relay at the door?
Why don't we show the video?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So the one thing about Relay is that goes beyond the technology or the marketing is that people love this robot. And it's funny, it's technology and a machine, but people think of Relay as, we call it P, and our hotel's name Relay different things like this. We're going to show you a video. They call him Wally. But you can see that once you have this really fun connection, then it makes it a completely different thing. It goes from being a product to being a helper. This is something that one of the hotel guests took this video.
What's it? Oh, open the door.
Is it Wally?
Look, it's Wally.
Oh my god, it's Wally!
It says hello. Remove your delivery, it says.
Please remove your delivery.
Wally, the butler.
Wow.
Okay, get it out, Julie. What does it have?
I want to see. Oh my god.
Thank you, Wally.
Thank you.
I believe this game is full of you.
Put it on the counter.
This is so cool.
And when you're done, it says hit. I'll set the green button, Julia. It's empty.
What's that?
How was your stay? Give him 5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
It says
Yay.
A.
Thank you. I think.
Do you like
You want anything else?
anything else?
An assistant
No.
with anything else?
Okay.
Okay, I'm heading home. Goodbye.
Oh my god.
You got the okay, so say bye.
Bye.
Oh my god.
Heading home. Bye.
He blinked. There he goes.
Oh my god.
Look, there he goes.
What?
He's fast.
That's too cool.
He's fast.
Oh my gosh. No way. Keep going.
Is he going to the elevator, Julia?
Come on.
No, come back. Come back. That's crazy. Wow.
I knew it had to be wrong.
Yep, you're right, it was.
So a lot of kids in hotels follow Wally to the elevator and then they wave goodbye to him.
Where they stop him and hug him.
We've had adults get locked out of their room in their robes because they're following the robot with the cell phone camera.
And we have people buying a lot more stuff from the front, from the grab and go or the little restaurants downstairs just to have the robot come up and bring it to their room.
We were planning to stay at one of these hotels just to keep ordering things and just seeing Relay. So, what's it like to see just the people's reactions, knowing how much work you yourself have put into it?
I think, one of the things that I love about this job is that every day hundreds of people are touching something I built. And they're interacting with the screen that I programmed, they're enjoying this experience that I helped create. It's really amazing, I love it.
I think for me, the way the people, we're not trying to sell to the hotel guest, but the guest is our customer's customer, and they help us so much because there's so many posts on Facebook and Instagram of people trying to get selfies with the robot. And in fact, we've had to add another screen, like when the robot leaves the room. It used to just say, here's your delivery, thank you, and leave. But now it's got an extra screen that says, can I get you anything else? Just because our only complaint was the robot wasn't there long enough for people to go back and get their camera so they could take a picture of it.
And so one of the things which I consider very important is confidence, and robotics is a very male-dominant field. Was it difficult for you to kind of dive into something with so many men?
Yes, so I think engineering in general, you're right, that it tends to be male dominated, but I think it's really important also that you form a network of strong females, not just in engineering, but across kind of the professional world. So for me, that made a huge difference, having mentors and other people that I could also look up to and talk to about some of the things I encountered. And also then, once you gain some experience coming back to do events like this to help reach out to kind of the next generation of potential female engineers, I think is really, really important. But at the end of the day, what I love so much about engineering is it tends to be very much just about skills. At the end of the day, when you gain the confidence of your colleagues that you're very capable and very intelligent, everything else melts away. Like, that doesn't matter as much.
I totally agree, and I would say that I don't know how many times people have said to me, you don't know what you're talking about. And especially in robotics, because I got into it late in life. Like, I was an adult when I learned about robots. I hadn't been doing it since I was little. And so I get a lot of reactions like, oh, you don't know anything about robotics. Why are you telling me what to do? And I think, you just stick to it. You're right. It's really about the facts and, the truth. It's not about opinions in engineering. And so as long as you know what you're talking about and you keep sticking up for yourself, eventually people start listening and eventually you become CTO.
We have a lot of women engineers in our company, and it's a great source of pride I think, for all of us.
And I think for me personally, I'll say because of Lauren's marketing efforts and Tessa having that public face, so I knew joining that Tessa was part of the head of the female, she was a head at the company and she was also a female engineer. And so for me, coming in as a younger engineer and in a slightly different area, that was important to me to know that there was a really diverse grouping of people and others that I could learn from, both men and women.
And
I just wanted to say that you guys, as you grow up and you go through your high school and your college career, it's still, it's still mostly male dominant. So you really have to, stand your ground and be strong and be smart about it. And, even Kelly in college now, most of our classes are just mostly guys. So, women are still the minority right now, but it's up to you guys to make the change.
what role then do you think that confidence played in your success? Because you're a very accomplished woman. Like, life goals right there.
I guess. So I'm a pretty extroverted person. So for me, I think confidence is something that I've always been told that I kind of exude in when I'm speaking or interacting with others. In general, I think that it does help. It helps you stand out, and the confidence, the way you respect yourself and project that outwards, immediately kind of commands that of others. It's important that you're able to voice your opinions, feel heard by your colleagues and your friends and your company. And so for me, I do think that working on developing that, if that's something that you struggle with, is really, really important as you're young, and to continue to get yourself put into different situations and to learn that there are going to be some things you're great at, some things that you're not as great at, but ultimately that's the same as everybody else.
I think it's really important to cultivate the belief that you have the ability to do whatever you want. I think the reason we're all here is because we believe in ourselves and we know that we can do this, right? Even me coming into robotics when I was old, right? I didn't know for sure I could do it, but I believed in myself and I said, all right, I'm gonna learn robotics, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna master it. And it's all coming from having a sense of confidence in yourself and your abilities to do stuff. And people are gonna tell you you can't do that. And everyone, they're wrong, because you know yourself and you know what you can do. So you have to believe in yourself.
And you have to work, confidence is one thing, but you have to support it with knowledge and experience. So just learn all you can and always continue to learn, because especially in technology, it changes every day. And the more you know, the more confident you'll be in the decisions that you make.
One thing I'll say about confidence also is ask questions. When you're in the classroom and you're learning or anything, you see something interesting, always ask the questions. Do not hesitate to raise your hand and speak up. Sometimes people think that the person who asks more questions, that somehow signifies that they don't know as much, but that's not true. It's really important that you continue to ask things, that you're curious, And that is going to help you build your career and just altogether be successful in life.
On that note, any questions?
Why did you think that robotics would be like the best choice for you? Maybe not like designing a computer or like anything else. Why did you choose a robot over anything else?
So I chose robotics because they actually live in the world. Like there are a lot of people who just write software, and I was one of them, and software is behind a computer screen. It doesn't come out into the world and touch you, you can't touch it. And so I like robotics because it can actually do things. It can move things around, they can come to you. It's not just an abstract thing that you can't see.
And for me, I love robotics because it's not about me and just myself, right? So I can be a very smart person, I can work really hard, but ultimately I have to come together with the team, and we each have our own strengths and abilities to build a successful robotic product. This isn't something that's going to sit in a lab somewhere. This is something that we're hoping spreads all around the world to lots of different places and people. And so the team aspect of it, I think, is really, really fun and important because I get to go to work and be excited about who I'm working with and what I'm working on.
And I would just add to that you know, whether you go to work for a robotics company or a technology company or even a company that makes cheese, choose something that you love. Because if you're going to spend 10, 12 hours a day, you're going to work on weekends, why not do something that you're just amazed about that you do because you think it's fun and you would do it even if nobody paid you? That's what you should focus on. It doesn't necessarily have to be robotics. We just happen to think that it's fun and so spend our Saturdays, you know, talking about it because that's what we love to do.
Think about whatever your favorite thing is right now, whatever makes you happiest, and if you could get paid to do that, not more than your allowance, just way more than your allowance, and to get paid to get to do that, think how awesome that is. And I think to always strive for that is going to make you really, really happy.
Yeah.
Did you overcome any challenges or any stereotypes when you joined Savioke?
So for me, in marketing, there's a lot of women. For these guys, though, I'm sure that that's very true.
Yeah. So one of the biggest stereotypes that I faced was because I look really young. I'm actually in my 40s, and I'm pretty old. But I look really young, and people look at me and they say, oh, you can't be a roboticist, you can't be a CTO. And it's a challenge because I walk up and I introduce myself and I give them my business card, and they're like, oh my God, you're the CTO. They think I'm in marketing or, you know, not engineering. And so, you know, people interact with you based on their perception of you. And so I'm having to break through that stereotype all the time. But, you know, I'm here to show you that it can be done and you guys can do it too.
In the yellow sweater.
When you had passion for robotics, how did you develop that? And were there any challenges in your passion? Because maybe sometimes like people like you aren't much passionate about robotics. Do you have any problems with like other people's thinking problems?
How did you develop your passion for robotics?
You know what, I can talk a little bit about that. I think what I'm hearing you say is, you know, just because we have passion for it, what about other people? How are you talking about it? And that's always the challenge for me because we have a robot, and my goal for marketing is to make sure that our potential customers can see the excitement and see in the relay what he can do for them. And once you understand what problem is that people have, and you say, this can solve your problem, you know, then they're like, what? That is the solution. And all of a sudden they become really passionate and it's really fun to talk to them about, because they start saying, can you do this? And here's another problem, can you do this? And you're like, well, maybe not, this, but you can do this. And so that makes it so much fun, because then they share in your passion and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
When you were learning how to create Relay and making it, were you able to interact with other robots that other people created?
Yeah, so we're inspired by robots all the time, right? If you go out on YouTube or Facebook or anything, and there's always people posting pictures and videos of other robots. And one of the things we did as we were creating Relay was to take inspiration from a lot of those. Like, for example, he doesn't talk. And that's kind of like R2-D2, from Star Wars. R2-D2 doesn't talk, but he beeps and he communicates with you, and that's what we wanted Relay to do as well. Because robots that talk are a little bit creepy, and they're not as cute, and so we wanted our Relay to be cute. So yeah, we're learning from a lot of robots all the time.